Chapter 4, The All. And this is probably my favorite chapter, and one that opened my eyes to the concept I had of God, to a new concept at that time that broke the prison of the old concept. And this was a big leap in the story of the character's walk to his source. So chapter 4, The All. Under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth, the Kybalion. Substance means that which underlies all outward manifestations, the essence, the essential reality, the thing in itself, etc. Substantial means actually existing, being the essential element, being real, etc. Reality means the state of being real, true, enduring, valid, fixed, permanent, actual, etc. Under and behind all outward appearances or manifestations, there must always be a substantial reality. This is the law. And this is the truth. There is a substantial reality that is not a thing as all objects that appear, but its presence cannot be denied because its presence is your very presence. But at the same time, your very presence is not an object that can be known, as all objects can be known, or seen, or experienced. This is what the mystics point to when they say awareness or consciousness. All is consciousness. This is the real, this is the truth that sets one free from the content of consciousness. Because we are bound by the content of consciousness until we come to that which is infinite. This is the law. Man, considering the universe of which he is a unit, sees nothing but change in matter, forces, and mental states. He sees that nothing really is, but everything is becoming and changing. Nothing stands still. Everything is being born, growing, dying. The very instant a thing reaches its height, it begins to decline. The law of rhythm is in constant operation. There is no reality, enduring quality, fixity, or substantiality in anything. Nothing is permanent but change. He sees all things evolving from other things and resolving into other things. A constant action and reaction, inflow, outflow, building up and tearing down, creation and destruction, birth, growth, and death. Nothing endures but change. And if he be a thinking man, he realizes that all these changes or changing things must be but outward appearances or manifestations of some underlying power, some substantial reality. Yes, this is absolutely the case. And this is what I try to point people to in my teachings, is that you are that substantial reality, but you take yourself to be one of the forms or the births or the growth or the dying, the changing. You believe yourself to be changing, and thus you have become mortal. You believe yourself to be a body, but you are that which changes not. You are the reality that gives existence to the body. You are the awareness that has birthed the body. What do I mean? Again, I repeat the same thing. When you were a kid, you were aware that you were a kid, or that you were aware of that kid body and of those kid thoughts, of those kid feelings. When you became a teenager, all those forms changed, but the knowing that knows the change remains permanent. Is not in time. It changes not. That knowing that knows the thoughts that changed, it changes not. That awareness that all the change happens in and is made of changes not. It is the reality, the underlying reality that you are. You are this consciousness, this awareness that is the witness of all things. But not only the witness, all things are consciousness, which we'll go to further. But let me keep reading. Nothing endures but change. Okay, I read that. All thinkers in all lands and all times have assumed the necessity for postulating the existence of this substantial reality. All philosophies worthy of the name have been based upon this thought. Men have given to this substantial reality many names. Some have called it by the term deity or God, under many titles. Others have called it the infinite and eternal energy. Others have tried to call it matter. But all have acknowledged its existence. It is self-evident. It needs no argument. In these lessons, we have followed the example of some of the world's greatest thinkers, both ancient and modern, the Hermetic masters, and have called this underlying power, this substantial reality, by the Hermetic name of the All, which term we consider the most comprehensive of the many terms applied by man to that, which transcends names and terms. And I would agree that the All is a better term than, let's say, God, because when you say God, most people often think of a Casper-like ghost off in space somewhere, sitting on a throne, looking down, and so they have gave limits to this thing they call God. Although they will say God is omnipresent, all-knowing, they still put limits, meaning he's a being in a certain location in space. But the All is not in space or in time. The All is what holds all space and time, yet is not in space and time. Let me give you one of my favorite examples of the television or the screen and the movie. The character in the movie can roam the whole earth looking for the All, which contains the movie, or the screen that contains the movie, and he will never find the screen in the movie. But only when he searches within himself and sees, what am I truly in essence? Before all the forms, before all the thoughts, I am that which all things are made of. I am that which never changes. I am the screen. Although the form may change, my body may change, my thoughts may go, that which I am, which is the screen, will never leave. It never goes. It never dies. When the movie ends, the screen remains. This is what everything is. This is the underlying reality. This is the truth that sets you free from the bondage of the forms. It transcends names. We accept and teach the view of the great Hermetic thinkers of all times, as well as those illumined souls who have reached higher planes of being, both of whom assert that the inner nature of the All is unknowable. This must be so, for not but the All itself can comprehend its own nature and being. Again, this is another true statement. It is nothing but the All, or it is only God that knows God. Just like the analogy I gave of the screen. When the character in the movie finds within himself and finds that he is the screen, it is only the screen that knows he is the screen. It's not the character in the movie. The screen knows the character in the movie. It knows that it is all of the things in the movie. But the character can never know the screen, although all things are made of the screen. Everywhere he walks, everything that he sees in the movie is made of the screen. Yet the screen is unknowable to the human and to the mind. It is only God that knows God. It is only the all that knows the all. And in each and every one of us lies this essence. And once we tap into it or reach that essence, it is the discovery of itself. And it knows itself as it is and its nature and being. Let me read on. The Hermeticists believe and teach that the all in itself is and must ever be unknowable. They regard all theories, guesses, and speculations of the theologians and metaphysicians regarding the inner nature of the all as but the childish efforts of mortal minds to grasp the secret of the infinite. And this is what happens in many religious circles. Everybody claims to know God, but they only know secondhand knowledge of God, meaning they know of what people wrote about their firsthand experience. And so it is all just childish efforts of the finite minds to grasp the secret of the infinite. The secret of the infinite is only revealed by the infinite and to the infinite. Such efforts have always failed and will always fail from the very nature of the task. One pursuing such inquiries travels around and around in a labyrinth of thought until he is lost to all sane reasoning, action, or conduct, and is utterly unfitted for the work of life. He is like a squirrel which frantically runs around and around the circling treadmill wheel of his cage, traveling ever and yet ever reaching nowhere. At the end, a prisoner still, and standing just where he started. And this is correct. Just as, the analogy I gave of the human searching the whole earth in the movie. The character of the movie searching that whole earth, looking for the screen. He would never find it. He would just go in circles, looking for it, and be imprisoned in it until he turns his mind around and seeks that which he is. And still more presumptuous are those who attempt to ascribe to the personality and qualities, properties, characteristics, and attributes of themselves, ascribing to the all the human emotions, feelings, and characteristics, even down to the pettiest qualities of mankind, such as jealousy, susceptibility to flattery and praise, desire for offerings and worship, and all the other survivals from the days of the childhood of the race. Such ideas are not worthy of grown men and women and are rapidly being discarded. And this is how many holy scriptures, especially Western scriptures, portray man, because man can only conceive of what he knows. So God is portrayed in the likeness of men, and men take to God as being as they are, which is a childish way of looking. As Paul states in the scriptures, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I seen things as a man. At this point, it may be proper for me to state that we make a distinction between religion and theology, between philosophy and metaphysics. Religion to us means that intuitional realization of the existence of the all and one's relationship to it, while theology means the attempts of men to ascribe personality, qualities, and characteristics to it, their theories regarding its affairs, wills, desires, plans, and designs, and their assumption of the office of middlemen between the all and the people. Philosophy to us means the inquiry after knowledge of the things knowable and thinkable, while metaphysics means the attempt to carry the inquiry over and beyond the boundaries into regions unknowable and unthinkable. and with the same tendency as that of theology. And consequently, both religion and philosophy mean to us things having roots in reality, while theology and metaphysics seem like broken reeds rooted in the quicksands of ignorance and affording naught but the most insecure support for the mind or soul of man. We do not insist upon our students accepting these definitions. We mention them merely to show our position. At any rate, you shall hear very little about theology and metaphysics in these lessons. But while the essential nature of the all is unknowable, there are certain truths connected with its existence which the human mind finds itself compelled to accept. And an examination of these reports form a proper subject of inquiry, particularly as they agree with the reports of the illumined on higher planes. And to this inquiry, we now invite you. That which is the fundamental truth, the substantial reality, is beyond true naming, but the wise men call it the all, the Kybalion. In its essence, the all is unknowable, the Kybalion. But the report of reason must be hospitably received and treated with respect, the Kybalion. The human reason, whose report we must accept so long as we think at all, inform us as follows regarding the all, and that without attempting to remove the veil of the unknowable. 1. The all must be all that really is. There can be nothing existing outside of the all, else the all would not be the all. Let me stop right there. This is absolutely true again. There is nothing outside of awareness. In order for something to be outside of awareness, something would have to be aware that there is something outside of awareness. Thus, awareness would still have to be there. This is the underlying reality. All is made of awareness. So the all would have to be all-encompassing. There is nothing outside of the all. 2, the all must be infinite, for there is nothing else to define, confine, bound, limit, or restrict the all. It must be infinite in time, or eternal. It must have always continuously existed, for there is nothing else to have ever created it, and something can never evolve from nothing. And if it had never not been, even for a moment, it would not be now. It must continuously exist forever. For there is nothing to destroy it, and it can never not be, even for a moment, because something can never become nothing. It must be infinite in space. It must be everywhere, for there is no place outside of the all. It cannot be otherwise than continuous in space, without break, cessation, separation, or interruption, for there is nothing to break, separate, or interrupt its continuity, and nothing with which to fill in the gaps. It must be infinite in power, or absolute, for there is nothing to limit, restrict, restrain, confine, disturb, or condition it. It is subject to no other power, for there is no other power. Again, Holy Scriptures refer to God as this, infinite, eternal. And it says, it's absolute. There is nothing that holds power over it. It is the one that gives birth to all things. Yet none of these things can touch it. Awareness never changes. It's not in time. It's not in space. Although this says it must be continuous in space, that which you are is not in space or in time. If it was in space, you would be able to find its limits. But when people speak of it to humans, they say it is, you are the space which holds all things, just to give the mind something to grasp to understand. This space-like knowing, if you take out the space-like, all there is knowing, and a mind cannot imagine what that is. where are the dimensions of that? Is it dimensionless? Is it infinite? You cannot know. It is dimensionless. 3, the all must be immutable or not subject to change in its real nature, for there is nothing to work changes upon it. And again, your essential nature, which the word pointing to it is awareness, changes not. Only the objects change. For instance, we have all experienced deep sleep, where there are no objects of appearance. So it appears as if nothing exists, or there is nothing there because there's nothing to observe. But once change happens, you understand that you were in deep sleep. You know that you were there because awareness was there. It's not an absence of awareness. It is an awareness of absence. So awareness never changes. You never change. You are not in space and time. Only you believe yourself to be one of those things that appear in space and time, which is a thought to be a human being. It says, for there is nothing to work changes upon it, nothing into which it can change, nor from which it could have change. It cannot be added to nor subtracted from, increased or diminished. Awareness is never increased or diminished. And many people believe that awareness or God or this all is increased or diminished when somebody gets brain damage, right? And just because a man cannot express through the mind or through the body, the awareness is always aware of what's going on. But people call them a vegetable because they cannot express anything outwardly. But that doesn't mean that awareness is still not there aware. Although the awareness might be impaired, just as if a blind man is blind. The awareness is impaired, but you're still aware of other senses. So it cannot be added to or diminished. Awareness is never added. It can never fade away. Nor become greater or lesser in any respect whatsoever. It must always remain just what it is now, the all there has ever been. It is not now and never will be anything else into which it can change. And that's facts. The all being infinite, absolute, eternal, unchangeable, it must follow that anything finite, changeable, fleeting, and conditioned cannot be the all. And this is true. This is why the Holy Scriptures tell you to love not the world. Desire not the things that come and go. Although they are actually the all as well. But in order for you to see the all, you must first make a separation. And there is nothing outside of the all. In reality, then any and all such finite things must be as nothing in reality. Now, do not become befogged nor frightened. We are not trying to lead you into the Christian science field under the cover of Hermetic philosophy. There is a reconciliation of this apparently contradictory state of affairs. Be patient. We will reach it in time. We see around us that which is called matter, which forms the physical foundation of our forms. Is the all merely matter? Not at all. Matter cannot manifest life or mind, and as life and mind are manifested in the universe, the all cannot be matter, for nothing rises higher than its own source. Nothing is ever manifested in an effect that is not in the cause. That's fact. Nothing can be manifested in the effect that is not in the cause. Does that make sense? Because you have a lot of atheists in the world that say, well, this Big Bang created the universe, and this universe created the world, and the world created matter, and matter created a body, and body created a brain, and brain created a mind. Mind created this awareness or consciousness. But again, it's saying nothing is ever manifested in an effect that is not in a cause. So if inside the matter was never awareness and consciousness, it can never have manifested it. Nothing is ever, hold on, before I keep reading. That's why consciousness is that which births everything. Awareness. You will never find anything outside of awareness. It is impossible. Everything is birthed out of awareness or spirit. And then modern science informs us that there is really no such thing as matter. That what we call matter is merely interrupted energy or force. That is, energy or force at a low rate of vibration. As a recent writer has said, matter has melted into mystery. Even material science has abandoned the theory of matter and now rests on the basis of energy. Then, is the all mere energy or force? Not energy or force as the materialists use the term, for their energy and force are blind, mechanical things, devoid of life and mind. Life and mind can never evolve from blind energy or force. For the reason given a moment ago, nothing can rise higher than its source. Nothing is evolved unless it is involved. Nothing manifests in the effect unless it is in the cause. And so the all cannot be mere energy or force, for if it were, then there would be no such thing as life and mind in existence. And we know better than that, for we are alive and using mind to consider this very question. And so are those who claim that energy or force is everything. What is there then higher than matter or energy that we know to be existent in the universe? Life and mind. Life and mind in their varying degrees of unfoldment. Then you ask, do you mean to tell us the all is life and mind? Yes and no is our answer. If you mean life and mind as we poor petty mortals know them, we say no. The all is not that. But what kind of life and mind do you mean, you ask? The answer is living mind. Let me stop right there. Because this living mind that I believe the Kybalion is trying to point to is the same thing I am pointing to. This awareness. This is before the mind. The awareness sees the mind. And is aware of the mind. Mind being mental thoughts and images. Awareness is the supreme, the untouchable, that which doesn't come and go. Mind comes and goes. Thoughts come and go. Images come and go. It comes and goes. Just as the world comes and goes. Meaning, for 12 hours this world exists. When you go to sleep, you have no thoughts of this world. You're in another world, so that world is no longer there. You are in a completely another world, in a dream world. And when that dream world passes, you're in what you call deep sleep, where there is no world. But awareness is still present. Because after you wake up out of that, you are aware that you were in that state. Meaning awareness had to be there. But no mind was there, no world was there. The world appears in you. There's nothing you have to do for the world to appear. You close your eyes and open them. Nobody does seeing. Nobody does hearing. These things are happenings of awareness. So it says, again, the answer is living mind, as far above that which mortals know by those words, as life and mind are higher than the mechanical forces of matter, infinite living mind as compared to finite life and mind. We mean that which the illumined souls mean when they reverently pronounce the word spirit. The all, the infinite living mind, the illumined called it spirit. And this is the end of chapter 4. And exactly what it's saying, and what the illumines call spirit, I am calling awareness at this point, because it is one and the same. Two different words for the same thing. But spirit is a vague word, whereas awareness points more directly to the spirit that the sages are talking about, that the prophets are talking about. And so with that, that's the end of chapter 4.